the Earth absorbs the white light, it's turned into infrared radiation, and the CO2 and other gases act like glass around the planet and trap the heat, like happens when you leave your car out in the sun and you get in the car and it's terribly hot, because glass traps the heat and doesn't let it get out. So that's what's happening. Now, normally the Arctic ice reflects the light back, but as it melts and the sea turns black, black absorbs heat. So as the sea heats, just next door is Greenland, with an ice sheet 3 kilometres thick. There's evidence now that Greenland's melting faster than we predicted. Rivers are forming on the surface of the ice never seen before. The water is seeping down through the ice and landing on the bedrock and providing a lubricant, so the ice is sliding down towards the sea. Huge earthquakes are occurring quite frequently as huge chunks of ice break off. If the Greenland ice cap melts, the seas could rise 75 metres, I read the other day. 75 metres. If it doesn't, and only the Arctic ice melts, the Antarctic is melting too. The seas are predicted to rise by a very conservative IPCC report, 15 metres by the end of this century. Now, 1/3 of the human race lives at sea level. The people in Bangladesh live on an estuary, a delta, millions and millions of them. The glaciers are drying up, so the rivers like Ganges and the Yellow River and many rivers are going to dry up as the glaciers which supply them disappear, and that will probably happen in your Rockies too. So therefore, people are going to be short of water. Meanwhile, as the seas rise, the salt water will get into their wells, which many of them use for drinking water, and pollute the water with salt, so the water will be not potable. And there will be more and more catastrophic climatic conditions like Hurricane Ike, and we're seeing that now. Insurance companies are going broke, as well as all the banks and everything around the world at the moment. And also what is happening is that the permafrost, which has been there for hundreds of thousands of years, is also melting. The permafrost contains a lot of rotting organic material which has produced methane, millions of tonnes of methane. Methane is 20 times more potent as a global warmer than CO2, and as that now erupts, and a Russian scientific vessel was up near the Arctic ice cap, and bubbles of methane, almost sort of volcanoes, were coming out of the ocean because the permafrost at the bottom of the ocean up there is melting too. Yet, we keep on selling oil. We keep on generating electricity from your coal-fired plant down there. James Hansen says we've got to stop burning coal now. It's like I've got a patient in the intensive care unit dying of septicemia. And I say, well, I'm tired, it's 3 in the morning, I'll probably go to bed soon. And we're running out of the antibiotic to cure the septicemia. It might get rid of 50% of the organisms, but not all. The patient dies. You see, I think doctors have a different way of thinking of things. There are no compromises in medicine. And if we compromise, we are either deregistered, you know, or struck off the register. Because right now the planet is in the intensive care unit and we're all physicians to a dying planet. And people swear, well, it's the back pocket. How many times did I hear that today when I was in your state house or whatever you call it? Back pocket? That people would worry about money and kill the planet? That 1/3 of the world's mammals, 2,417 something, are at risk of extinction, the lions and tigers and elephants and stuff? What are we doing? Are we an evolutionary aberrant? I think we are. We're brilliant. Got the opposing thumb. We can do anything. Stood on our hind limbs, we've got this huge neocortex that evolved very quickly in the space of evolutionary time. But we seem to have something missing. We don't seem to be able to extrapolate into what we're doing. Well, the American Indians did. They said we mustn't do anything without thinking of the consequences upon the next 7 generations. Why are we so pathetic, us Caucasians? Why are we so arrogant? Why do we worry about money, for Christ's sake? I'm letting you have my feelings. I know it's not your fault, but by God Almighty, we've got to do something fast. For those of you who are Christians here, what would Jesus do? Would he be kicking over the money tables? Would he be? God Almighty, you know he would. He got really angry with those people. Anger is appropriate. I know you're all so nice here, frightfully nice. Well, nice is nice, but it gets a bit boring. And I know inside you, you've got huge passions. I spoke to a group of doctors the other night, and there was this man who stood up and challenged me on global warming and said, how do I know? And anyway, the Earth heated up, 1 million years ago. And what am I on about? Well, he was beyond reason. And I told him, finally I got angry with him, and I told him to shut up and sit down. I wasn't going to talk to him, and he did. I found out later he was a professor of anatomy. If I'd known that, I would have said, look, all the literature on global warming is peer-reviewed meticulously. Do you in medicine ignore some peer-reviewed articles and accept others? If so, you would be practicing aberrant, immoral medicine. But I didn't think of that till later. Often I don't think of the right words, in response till later. I can't believe when I come to your province, you are the most refractory group of people, and it's not you, okay, I'm talking generically, Albertans, that I've met. Even in Australia, we're scared stiff of global warming. We're talking about stopping selling coal to the Chinese and stopping chopping our trees down. We haven't stopped, but we're going to stop them. But here, I get this incredible feeling that people are practicing psychic numbing like those monkeys. We don't see, we don't hear, we don't say. It's our economy. What did Clinton say? It's the economy, stupid. Do you know that ExxonMobil, I found this out when I was doing my book, has spent $18 million in the last few years injecting doubt into the global warming debate? That's what the tobacco companies did. That's a very brilliant way to affect the body politic, is to inject doubt. Well, we're not really sure if smoking causes cancer. They knew. They used Helen Knowlton to promote tobacco. The nuclear industry is using Helen Knowlton to promote nuclear power. So that's where this data is coming from. It's being engineered, social engineering. And people are gullible, they're vulnerable. You're having a beer and you say, hey, look, this is not really happening, this global warming stuff. Who are these people? There is beyond a skerrick of doubt. And we are now at 383 parts per million of carbon dioxide. The beginning of the Industrial Revolution, I think it was 250 or 280. Does anyone know? 250, 280? Anyway, and Hansen says we've got to go back to 350 from 383. Well, business as usual. I mean, people are saying, well, we might go up to 400 parts per million. My Prime Minister's saying that. I've got a rude word for him, which I won't use here because it would offend you. I'm an Australian. Like Paul Hogan. That's not a knife, this is a knife. So it's business as usual for politicians who are usually businessmen who know no science, or lawyers who know no science, or I don't know about engineers and stuff, they know no science too. I mean, no biology. No biology. I can't get my head around what's actually happening here. I can't get my head around what's happening to the Earth. I know China's building a new coal-fired plant every week, and then people say, oh, well, we're not going to do anything till those Chinese do something and the Indians. That's not right. You see, America burns 25% of the oil used in the world. And what's more, she'll go and kill people to get the oil, as she has in Iraq. over 1 million civilians she's killed, and they're still bombing them, and the surge hasn't worked, and that's a lie. That's for oil. And just recently, the oil company signed a deal with the Iraqi government. Maliki, who is a puppet of the Americans, has allowed the oil companies to come back. You see, when Hussein got in, he nationalised the oil and kicked out all the foreign oil companies. So the Iraqi people owned the oil